Being a single mom and doing it all by yourself is brutal. Learn the brain and energy tools to get back to your center and overcome your challenges. Hi, good evening. As a single mom, having so many decisions to make, so much stress on you is so hard. And one of the major stressors for single moms is money. When you're stressed about money or something big like that, you're more irritable. You have more chances to fight with your teenagers, to argue with them, which we are trying to avoid here. And you may also be feeling guilty because you cannot buy them everything you would like to buy them. You may compensate and give in when you should not give in, when it would be better for you to stay firm. Today, we are going to talk about money. And as I promised, I would bring experts of all kinds with all kinds of expertise for you to choose the one that you resonate with. And the one that I have today is specialized in working with your heart and your chakras to invite more money in your life. But before I invite her in, as you know, this Single and Doing It All podcast episode is recorded live on Facebook with our Facebook audience. So if you would like to attend live next time we are on, you can let us know here and you will be added to our insiders list. I'll let you know a few minutes before I go live. Another thing is, if you like what you are hearing, if you're a regular listener or viewer, let us know, participate. And the last thing, many moms are struggling alone and feel isolated, and they suffer from that. So if you know someone that could benefit from listening what we are going to share today, let them know. And now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Muriel Felous. I help single moms stop fighting with their teenagers. And I'm going to invite our guest here to share her expertise with us. Her name is Leisa Peterson. And I must admit that I forgot to have in front of me her introduction. I apologize. So from memory, she's helping people heal their relationship with money. She's the author of a book called The Mindful Millionaire, which is going to come out. I will ask her when. And welcome her. She's going to introduce herself much better than what I'm doing right now. Welcome, Leisa. How are you?
Good. It's so nice to see you and to be here.
So nice to have you here too. I just worked with your workshop, the roadmap to prosperity. So it's really fresh in my mind and I really, really like it. I'm so happy we can share that with the audience here. But before we do that, I would like to know what brought you to do what you're doing today.
Beautiful question. So I have spent the past 25 years working in the money business, and I have an MBA in finance. I'm a certified financial planner. And about 5 years ago, I walked away from that business because I was more consumed by fear around money than anything, my own fear, and also the fear that I had seen my clients experience, particularly women, when it came to managing, saving, dealing with money. And it's pretty much been something that I think I've been fascinated by since I was very young, about how do we take care of ourselves? How do we do a good job? I'm a mom too. I have 2 children, and I didn't want to pass my fears about money onto my children. And thankfully, doing this work has helped me to really change my life. But I am a finance expert. And then I also brought together this 20-year journey of spiritual inner discovery into my work. So I was doing that simultaneous to my career. And it wasn't until 5 years ago where I said that enough is enough. I need to bring these worlds together. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to figure it out. And that began the journey.
And I heard you say in your workshop that it actually changed your life to bring that spiritual part into the financial aspect of your business and your life.
Yes, very much so. Unfortunately, I think we kind of take money to extremes, and we have a hard time really integrating it into like things like love and compassion. And we know how to give, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of the practical aspects of money that we struggle with when you think about these inner experiences. And so for 15 years, I just kept them completely separate. I was on a spiritual journey and I was a financial whiz, you know, and it was like, they're just different. And I didn't know how to bring them together. And thankfully, I just vision that it was time and that I had to figure it out.
And so in your work, I know that you approach money through working with chakras and working through your heart instead of your mind, your head only. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. What I have done is I've created a model. So when I was on my spiritual journey, I studied a lot of inner work around meditation and the chakras, but it never occurred to me to relate it to my relationship with money. Typically, what happens is we think of the root chakra so as being money related. And for those who do not know anything about chakras, I'll just explain that these are teachings that go back in the East, primarily India, 4,000 years to the time of Patanjali. And it's amazing because what anyone who studies it starts to see is it's like a map of consciousness. It's a map of the spirit. And even though you can't x-ray it and see it on like a x-ray, as you start to work with them, you start to notice that there are these personalities with each of the 7 main chakras that typically people study. And the more you learn, the more you start to embody these experiences. And so what I started to realize is that I could take those 7 stages, the root, the sacral, the power, the heart, the throat, the brow, and the crown, and these energetic centers of that are bursting with energy, and relate them to our practical experiences with money. And so that was what started me understanding that instead of, we probably all have had these times where we're like, I know my money isn't where I want it to be, but I'm so overwhelmed by where to start that I can't even get started. It's like, what do I do first? And so because of my financial planning background, I was able to see that there was a very natural progression in our relationship with money that I could tie to the chakras. And then it became, the work becomes, which of the chakras am I working on? I'm not working on all 7 at the same time. I'm working on one that relates to an experience with money.
Because I know that you said that you're teaching that with each chakra, there can be an underlying subconscious belief that is limiting us and that they are chakra specific. Could you give us 1 or 2 examples of the symptoms? How can people recognize which of their chakra is blocked or needs to be purified or cleansed?
Yeah, and it takes only a second, so I can take us through all 7. So the root is, I am fearful of my own survival, safety. For women, many times it's like, I'm a few bad moves away from destitute poverty. That's the root chakra. The sacral is actually, to me, it's worthiness. It's like, I'm worthy of having money. I'm worthy of all that money brings into my life. So when we run deficiencies and get into a lot of debt, there is at the core an experience of unworthiness that causes us to get into those cycles. Going into the solar plexus, the power chakra, it's about managing money. So like budgeting and being able to know what you've got and how much is coming in and how much is going out. The heart, which is probably really interesting for a lot of people, it's around giving and receiving, being in balance with each other. So one way we can practically think of this is we are being well paid for the effort that we put out into the world. So it's like the value that we create in the world, we're compensated for that.
Yes.
That's a pretty significant thing. We might have money coming in, but we also know we're underpaid, for example, and that's not a long-term solution. The throat is around trust, around trusting ourselves, being able to know what to do when we have saved money and we're making good money. Now, how do we invest it? How do we make good choices as a custodian of our money? Then we move into the brow, which is the intuition combined with the intellect. So when you bring these two aspects of ourselves together, what I found is this place of I am enough. Like I'm really enough. And my experiences with money reflect it. And then ultimately the crown is I am abundant, I am free, I am sovereign. It's a much more spiritual state.
So can you have somebody who has several of their chakras which needs to be adjusted or worked with?
Most definitely. And that's why I recommend we start at the root and we work our way up.
That was going to be my next question, like where should you start? Now, you also talk about the yin and the yang of money. What is that, the yin and the yang of money?
Yeah, so this is going to the teachings of the Tao. So I'm really good at studying all the world's religions and bringing them into these teachings. So the Tao is about balance and harmony in our lives. And what I've found, and even in the relationship to the chakras, there are more masculine and more feminine chakras. But what happens with money is we tend to go to extremes. So the yin is this very feminine embodied experience. This is compassion, love, nurturing, support. And a lot of women, not all of us, but a lot of women, have these feminine characteristics where we want to engage in the world from a more feminine perspective. And again, the yin and the yang aren't just male, female. They're these traits of feminine and masculine, which may or may not, right, be related to what sex we identify with. So the yang is the competitive, the driving, the action, let's go make it happen. Yin is like letting things happen sometimes. And the yang is more make things happen. And what I found is when you really step back and look at the relationship we have with money, the best possible thing that can happen is we're blending these two aspects of ourselves together, rather than always being in one extreme or the other, right? And we can think of figures in the media that are always in the yang or always in the yin. And that's really not a great situation because we don't engage in the world in the way that I think we ultimately know is best for us, ourselves, for others, and also for the environment and that we live in, taking care of the planet.
So would it make sense like to learn to, because the feminine side is more about receiving, right? Rather than going out. So would it make sense to start cultivating that, which we're not taught, most of us, at all? And then from there, you could receive some ideas, some inspiration to take action, then to go create that money. Is that something that is the optimal situation?
I think that you bring up a great point. Receiving and being open to receiving and even asking for others to give to us is a very, very important quality. And it plays out in all the chakras. It can help us. But at the same time, I think that we also need to be careful because we also need to give in order to receive. And if we are not being really clear with the value, for example, in the jobs that we do, about the value we're creating in the environment that we work in, we may not be able to receive a lot or what we need because we're not actually in alignment with what we're giving out into the world.
And that's what I find with a lot of women is that we are overgiver and we don't know how to receive. So we somehow block it from coming to us. Or if we receive it, we don't keep it. So for the people who are watching either live or on replay, first of all, if you come on replay, say hi. We love to see that you came and you listened. But you can ask questions. I'm going to take a little break. And I always do Franglish at this point because I usually say make a break, which is totally French. We'll take a break to answer any questions because I have a question that was asked by a woman to me earlier today. The thing that you're teaching about money, I guess in your teaching, it's not only about money, it's about healing at all levels, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Before we continue on the healing at all levels and we talk about your upcoming book, we're going to now take that break and see what comments from our audience here on Facebook. If you're listening to this on audio and you want to attend, you can come to the business page, Your French Life Coach, and you can be part of the interviews. You can come after fact, ask questions. We're always happy to have you here. And for now, we're going to go to the questions of the audience. We'll be back very soon. And we're back. And as we were interacting with the people here on Facebook, Christine asked a question. She said, great awareness here for myself around the yin and yang energy around money. I feel very detached from money, must be blocking. Can you help me around this detachment?
I'm just tuning in. Something about the sacral. So we'll talk about the sacral a little bit more. One of the things that happens to us with money is we turn off our ability to feel, and we don't feel because we're so afraid of the pain that will come as a result of that feeling. And so what I'm detecting here is that the biggest thing that can help you is getting more in touch with your feelings around money. Granted, I know that's not an easy thing to do because there's such disconnection. Sometimes we need to kind of find a project to play with where maybe it's a side, hustle or something that we're passionate about, but wherever you can bring in a passion about something that you would enjoy being, I don't want to say being compensated for, but that is the idea. But if you could think of money as like compensation for your enjoyment, for example. So if you can find something you're passionate about, tie it to money, take time to feel what it feels like to be rewarded for your passion. It starts to awaken you to feelings that you're probably cut off from. So I see this very, very commonly. This is in the sacral. And one of the things we're going to do is give a meditation out to everyone. And so I would suggest that you get the meditation because it takes you through the chakras and you can start to feel into these different areas of what's going on for you. And the meditation is meant to awaken feeling. So that would be the next step. And I think that you would be amazed at how much there is to feel. And you might even cry when you start to tune into that because there's just so much energy that's gotten blocked in that area of like the womb space that it might surprise you. And that's happened a lot. So you can always write to me if you do the meditation. My email, I respond to everything. So,
and Christine just confirmed. She said, "Yes, this is it. I don't allow myself to feel anything around money. and to share a personal story with you. That happened to me too, because when I first divorced, I was not financially as healthy as I am now, and I was very, very afraid because my kids depended on me for everything, the financial everything. So my fear was to lose my job and to end up in the street with my kids. And I remember every time I was going to the mailbox, I had that feeling in my stomach because I knew that there were bills there. And even thinking about the mailbox was triggering that feeling in my stomach. So after a while, I tried to not put that aside, not think about it, like, because I didn't like feeling that. So that
Yeah.
was also my personal experience. And if you want to receive Lisa's meditation, all you have to do is to just put healing money below, and you will receive it directly. You will receive a message with the link to her meditation where you can start working with it and unlocking your, I don't know if it's emotional trauma or whatever it is that is stuck in your chakra that's blocking you from receiving more money. Another question that I was asked today, because I was mentioning to someone that I was going to do this interview, and she said that every time she wants to make more money, but she's so busy and doesn't have enough time. It's a single mom. So she's busy, thinks about making more money, doesn't feel good because she doesn't have the time, and she feels even more a lack of time, money, and everything. So it makes it worse. So she doesn't even want to think about making more money anymore. What could she do to start changing that?
Yeah, so this is the solar plexus. This is the power and the action. Same sort of thing. There's a part, most likely for her, where there's so much fear around putting time in and not getting anything back in return that it's hard to get started. So the procrastination of the idea never takes place, and there's always a distraction to take your mind away. It's what we all do, but the thing is that change to me, there's two ways to go about change. One is willpower. That's probably what you've been using so far. I cannot do willpower. I'm just going to tell you right now, like, part of the reason I've done what I've done in developing my techniques is if I say, like, I'm on a diet, I gain weight. Like, I literally cannot do the willpower thing. I had to find ways that were more introspective of actually getting to the root of why do I have this problem, and eradicating the root rather than trying to tell myself to do something that I just can't do. So everything I teach and all the practices are around getting to the root cause of why you're not able to take action. And once that breaks open, you will find it easy to take action on those projects. So rather than doing all that willpower stuff, try a different approach, which is looking inside, getting in touch, trying the meditation, asking yourself as you go through that power chakra, like, you'll have time to sort of look at what's in there, what's holding you back, and also asking your, highest wisdom, what is it that's holding me back? Because inside there is this beautiful voice waiting to tell you a lot of information.
Yes, we are way more wise than what we give ourselves credit for, and we have a direct connection too, so we can ask and receive, and it's also about receiving. I remember that I was talking with someone many years ago and sharing my big dreams, because I have very big dreams, and his answer was like, "Oh, no, you shouldn't dream like that." And I was like, "Why?" He said, "Because what if you're disappointed?" And that's the space that a lot of people are in, because they are afraid to be disappointed. So they don't even go there, and they find ways to stop themselves. It's
I totally understand that. And I would say I've been the same way in the past. And I do think that we that we're talking about single moms, like we want to keep a really good attitude. We don't want to bring things onto ourselves that are going to make us feel like more hardship or more struggle, right?
Yes.
So I do believe that this is true. We do need to be careful about setting huge plans without any idea of how to bring them into reality. I do actually feel a little differently than some of the self-help teachers that say just set those big intentions. I think personally, for my own self, I needed to understand again what was holding me back from going after what I wanted. And, I don't want to sound like a broken record,
No,
but it's like,
no.
I couldn't just put things down on paper and walk away and have them, like, I'm not a manifester in that way.
No.
I manifest now because I'm so clear about who I am and what I want to do and how I'm going to bring it into reality. But that's taken years of developing. And that's my personality. Other people, I study human design, and there are a small fraction of the people on the planet that can just basically manifest and they go make it happen. Most of us aren't that way.
And you're right. And for me, I need a big dream to keep me moving. But if I think about the big dream every day, I'm going to be freaked out. I'm going to be scared. So I put the big dream out there. And what I do now is, because like you, I work on myself for years. So I listen to the guidance on what's the next action. What's the next action? And I used to resist so much because I did a lot of accounting. I'm very rational. I have those two sides, and I needed certainty. So being into the uncertainty of asking every step of the way, what is the next step, was so scary. But it's the only way I could have keep a peace of mind, because otherwise
I love it.
You don't know what to do.
Yeah, I totally love what you're saying. It makes so much sense. And I think I'm doing the same thing.
Now, I know you're writing a book, The Mindful Millionaire. So I'm really excited based on what you shared me about that book. It's going to be phenomenal. Could you please let us know a little bit about it and when it's going to come out?
Sure. So I don't have an exact publishing date. St. Martin's Press, which is part of Macmillan Publishers, will be publishing the book. I am done with it, but now we begin the process of the editor and I working together. And so there may be some rewrites, probably the end of this year, beginning of next year. But the book is essentially, if you've ever read The Artist's Way, which takes you through rediscovering your creativity by Julia Cameron, I was very inspired by that book, but also by all of the spiritual teachings that I've received over this past 20 years. And what I've done is create a book where the first part of it is about my own journey with money and being really straight up about the challenges that all of us are facing around debt and around the world that we live in and the environment that is not, like, the idea of the American dream has kind of gone out the window. And this is a totally different environment we're living in. And so I take a really, a real life look at the state of money, the idea of scarcity, the idea of abundance, and what we can be doing to learn about ourselves to drop away all this emotional and physical baggage that we're carrying around money, and then enter into the second part of the book, which is a very journal friendly oriented workbook that I call I Prosper. And each of the letters stands for one of the 8 steps that you're going to go through on your own journey. And the idea is that everything I teach is in this book. Like, you don't have to come and work with an expensive coach, and you can go and literally do this work on your own, which was the most important thing to me. I think of my mom, who died young, and she struggled with money her whole life. And I think this book would have been something that was reachable to her, and she could have done this work and helped herself. And I remember she was inspired by Carolyn Mace and Julia Cameron, and And yet she still always struggled with money. Nothing like this book exists on the market today. And I am so, so excited to get it in the hands of particularly women who are like, I need to change something, but I'm not sure where to start.
Yeah, and for single mom, it's an amazing way to change their life without having to invest a ton of money. Also, the question I ask. Oh no, another question before that. So prosperity is not only about money, right? It's about being prosperous in all areas of your life, because I know people who have money and they're so stressed and overworked that you don't even know if it's worth it. So prosperity in your book is also about all those aspects of us.
Yeah, it's basically encapsulating the whole journey to, you could call it like this enlightened state of being. So it covers everything. The I Prosper experience could help you with any aspect of your life. I focus on money. What I kid about, my daughter, who's 21, helped me come up with this. She said, oh, the book is for people who are aspiring to be millionaires or aspiring to have wealth and comfort and freedom. And it's also for those who have had a lot of success with money, but they know that there's got to be more to life, or that there's a lot missing. And the book is written to both audiences, which is very unusual as well. Because in all fairness, I have had great success with money. Like, I have always been good with money. I've worked really hard to get it. But my problem with money was I made money more important than anything else. I sacrificed the quality of my life in pursuit of money. So I'm able to kind of look at my mom's story and my own story and blend them together so that anybody who comes across the book could get benefit from it and wake up as a result of doing it.
It is so important, because you can become slave to money if you don't pay attention to that. Mm-hmm. Which is a perfect transition to the question I ask all of my guests, which is about self-love, because a lot of women that I tell them to love themselves, and I look at their reaction, and most of them, they don't even know where to start. So I like to ask my guest for her definition of self-love. That way it gives ideas to other women about approaching it. What is your definition?
My definition would be seeing the wholeness in myself, the completeness of who I am. And, I'm 52 years old. I feel like I've been working on this for 52 years. I will also say that writing the book over this past 5 years, even just today, I pretty much am done with the book. And it's like, I think that the process of writing the book and witnessing that I was actually able to create something that is this beautiful and special has allowed me to see my own potential in a way that I actually never saw before. So it's through the coaching and through being in service of others and wanting to solve this problem that I came to learn just how magnificent I am in this lifetime. So dropping away all the other stories and being so proud of who I've become.
It's beautiful, because it's like embracing your purpose and living it. It's so beautiful. Do you have any self-love practices that you incorporated in your life on a regular basis?
I'd have to say I have a very consistent meditation practice, and the meditation practice every single morning is about checking in with how I am feeling. What can I do that will support myself? If something's not right, then in my meditation practice, I will notice it and I will call it out, and then I will deal with it in that exact day, probably the first email or whatever I need to do. And after a while of living this way, now there's not very much that comes up in my meditation, because I'm so good in the moment of making sure that I don't even go to bed with things that are heavy.
And it's like, I always describe it, being French, of course, an artichoke, because you remove one leaf after the other, and then the more you remove, the more you get close to the heart, which is the best part. And it's the same way for us. The more we remove what is in the way of our true self, our higher self, our soul, the source in us, whatever you want to call us, the more it's becoming lighter and beautiful. It's beautiful. If people want to stay in touch with you or ask you questions or follow you until the book comes out, where should they go?
So they can go ahead and get the free gift that we're offering. They could also go to wealthclinic.com. And if right at the top of the webpage, there is a quiz that you can take that tells you, based on the answers to your questions, which of the chakras you'd want to be focused on. So you might want to do that anyways, because it's pretty fun. And that starts the process. And the emails that go out are my email, and I am, a small business. I respond to my emails. So it's easy to get in touch with me for now. So take advantage of it. Write to me, tell me what's going on, and I'm happy to help.
Yes. And again, I'm going to repeat, if you know somebody that could benefit from hearing what we talk about today, let them know, because money is a topic that touches everyone. And frankly, I don't know anybody who doesn't want more of it. I haven't met people like that yet. Maybe I will, I don't know. And as you know, if you're not new to the show, you know that my cat always participates. And if you're new, well, you heard him. He loves, I don't know, when I'm recording, he loves being here, doing his nails and talking. So I guess he's a teacher on his own. I want to thank you, Leisa, for being part of this interview today. That was very, very instructive and a lot of good stuff there. And I can't wait to see your book, because I personally will work with that too. So Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And for our audience, we'll be live next Thursday at 7 p.m. We are live every Thursday. If you listen to us on audio on iTunes, please go rate us and leave a comment also. I would really, really appreciate. Meanwhile, go and live your life and prosper in every area.